Hello, everyone. Great to be live with you. There are big developments in the murder of the DNC staffer Seth Rich. He was murdered back in 2016, but answers in his case are still left. They're not getting answered. Well, now we're perhaps going to get some answers this month. A judge has ordered the FBI to release the contents of Seth Rich's laptop related to a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request, that sought answers on his potential involvement in the WikiLeaks DNC email leak. Now, mainstream media narrative is that any relation between Seth Rich and WikiLeaks is a conspiracy theory. But FBI documents to this day have been withheld that would perhaps verify whether that is true or not. The judge says that the FBI initially denied having any records of Seth Rich, period. One guy happened to file a Freedom of Information Act request back in 2017, and FBI's response to that was like, sorry, we don't have anything, zero documents on Seth Rich. That was proven false. A few years later, FBI was caught in what seems to be a lie that they did have records on him. So then in 2020, FBI fessed up and said, oh yeah, we do have about 20,000 records that we somehow overlooked in 2017. But to this day, they are not releasing any of that. Now a judge has ordered the FBI to release those documents. The update today from the defendants in this case, the FBI has begged the judge to give them a little bit more time. The judge had ordered that they release these documents by tomorrow. FBI today just said, please give us 2 more weeks. And the judge said, okay. So the FBI now has till October 27th to release the contents of Seth Rich's laptop. Here to join me live today in the show is Matt Couch, who covered this extensively after the death of Seth Rich. And he was, after that, personally targeted and sued by Seth Rich's family. I'm going to get his take on what we should all be aware of in regards to this. Was there any connection between Seth Rich and WikiLeaks? Did he release the DNC emails that were so damaging to Hillary Clinton? We're going to dive right in. Before we do, shout out to the sponsor of my coverage. A new report reveals it's going to be a lot more expensive to heat your home this winter. Heating costs are expected to rise as high as 17%, or about $177 more than average in the coming months. So over 55 million are likely to struggle paying their utility bills this year as prices continue to surge with no sign of slowing down. I refuse to go broke by filling the pockets of greedy heating companies this winter. That is why I recommend the mini heater. This heater beats traditional central heating by making a room toasty warm in only a matter of minutes. It does it faster and at a fraction of the cost compared to the heating units most homes use. I just plug it in and it can warm the room right up. Now, my mini heater paid for itself, and thousands of other Americans will be using this gadget this winter as well. Try the mini heater risk-free for 60 days and for up to 45% off by clicking the link down in my description or visiting getminiheater.com. After placing your order, this amazing little device will be delivered straight to your door. With that being said, let me bring on Matt Couch. It's so good to have you on. Now, I didn't see your coverage of Seth Rich when this all transpired. For people who don't remember the Seth Rich case, he was murdered about 4:20 a.m. walking home in Washington, D.C. on July 10th, 2016, just months before that big presidential election between Hillary and Trump. Catch us up on this case.
Sure. So basically, we've been on this case. I think it's like late 16, early 2017. My team of myself, other private investigators, and former federal agents and military intelligence guys. We had a team we put together of 10 or 12 folks that were very talented. Like Frank Whalen, who was the head of NYPD homicide for 23 years. So these are very veteran individuals. Bill Pierce has been a licensed PI in multiple states for 30 years. So when we investigate this, we took a lot of hell, if we can use that word, a lot of hell from the media. But these are not just, this is not just a group of sleuths as people like the Rolling Stone and BuzzFeed and others have tried to call me over the years. It's a talented group of experienced investigators, federal agents, that have retired, and other personnel. When we got into this situation, we were told there was no information. The FBI didn't have the laptop, right? They'd never seen the laptop. And as I got to give credit out to Ty Clevenger and Eden Quayton, two amazing friends of mine and my attorneys, conservative attorneys that have fought with us every step of the way. Now it's going on, I think, like 6 years for Ty and almost 3 years with Eden, maybe more than that. But they have been there every step of the way fighting for the truth. And thanks to, Ty's persistency, Ty Clevenger's persistency in this, they have had to start admitting things that they lied about. For starters, they didn't have anything to do with Seth Rich. Then all of a sudden, they discovered 20,000 documents. Then it went from 20,000 to 500,000 documents mentioning Seth Rich that the FBI had. But they want to release that to us 500 pages a month, which, it's like a JFK thing. You'll get all the information in 83 years if you release 500 pages a month. And it just kept transforming. They said, we didn't have the laptop. Well, now it looks like they've had custody of the laptop. They took possession at one point. It's a very, very... And the FBI is just in tatters right now. When you look at all of the lies, all of the things that they've done, this case is just, it's the tip of the spear in the house of cards, Ivory.
It sure is. And I mean, it's just very suspicious that the FBI would act that way. Like you said, Ty Clevenger, the persistent lawyer in this case, representing that one man who is filing this lawsuit. By the way, that man is Brian Huddleston. He is the initial person who filed the Freedom of Information Act request. It got rejected by the FBI. They said, sorry, we have 0 documents on Seth Rich. It later came out he filed that 2017. 2020, a total separate entity filing a total separate FOIA turned up 2 documents on Seth Rich from the FBI. And Ty said, hold on. FBI said they didn't have anything. So FBI gets caught in their lie. And this is all according to the judge's order. The judge wrote all this out. And so then Ty said, FBI being caught having 2 emails with Seth Rich in the subject line, that's proof enough that I should win this FOIA lawsuit. The judge there in New York at the time ruled, no, we're going to side with the FBI. So they had to file more lawsuits. They filed more FOIAs that the FBI ignored in 2020, and then had to file more lawsuits. And this time, FBI, knowing it had been caught, admitted to 20,000 documents. But the fact that Seth Rich was killed in 2016, this is 4 years later, the FBI is finally admitting, oh, yeah, we do have a lot on Seth Rich. And now, 6 years later, 2 years after admitting, they're still not saying, they're still not releasing what they have. I mean, they've trickled out a little bit. Now, according to the judge's order, this order that the judge just made September 29th, this latest lawsuit, it was filed in Eastern District of Texas. And this Obama-appointed judge is actually saying... I can pull up some
emails between me and the attorneys if you want me to, and just kind of go through some of that. If you would like that, let me know.
Sure. Yeah. But according to the order, I'm seeing the judge is saying, if I'm calculating it right, the judge is saying out of 20,000 potential responsive pages, the FBI has only released about 127.
Yeah, I mean, it's so minuscule at this point. And it's evidence of a cover-up, Ivory. That's what it is. It's an absolute cover-up. They tried to sue me into the Stone Age. They've tried to silence me at every turn. Suspended on Twitter with 800,000 followers. Suspended on YouTube with 500,000 subscribers. I mean, every turn they make in this case is to silence it and to keep it quiet. They're going after Julian Assange for a reason. And we had people. I don't know how much you want me to go into the case or just what's going on currently, but there's things that I can tell you that most people probably don't know. Like one of our sources who was inside the Ecuadorian embassy with Julian Assange we met with her in Washington, D.C. in March of 2018. And the message that Assange, had brought to her, was that he had paid certain individuals. Seth Rich, was the individual, and that, it was not like this was something that was just, kind of taboo. Like, people in D.C. know what happened. They're not stupid in Washington, D.C. I mean, they're corrupt, but they're not stupid. And so Assange, the message that we got was, and it was an interesting message. He pulled our source off. If you ever been into an embassy, they have conference rooms, and of course they're all mic'd up. They're all cameras, mics. It's no privacy. He pulled our source off into one of the stairwells, right, to where there was no cameras, no audio. And he asked her, and he said, "Hey, if I wanted to buy something on eBay, and I wanted to have it shipped to me, could I do that?" And she looked at him, and she's like, "Well, yeah, Julian, you could do that." And he said, "I'm not saying that's how it happened, but if I wanted to buy something on eBay and have it shipped here to the embassy, I could do that, right?" And he smirked really big. And then he walked back into the conference room at the Ecuadorian embassy. And that was relayed to us from our source, a week after she came back from, the United Kingdom and meeting with Julian Assange. And so the point that I'm trying to make is, if this was real, if the Department of Justice wanted to do their jobs, if members of the Republican Congress wanted to do their jobs, this murder could be solved. It's not rocket science. Many people know there are things going around that have happened here that they just don't want you to talk about. It's why they tried to silence myself, my team, and many others.
Wow. So you have the source in the Ecuadorian embassy confirming that Julian Assange says Seth Rich was his source.
Correct.
Is she named?
I'll tell you off the record, but I won't do it here. I don't want to bring up a lot of drama right now. Some people may know who I'm talking about, but she's a reporter. But I don't want to throw a hellstorm back. Things have calmed down a little bit, if that makes sense. I don't want to throw a complete hellstorm back on her, but it's just crazy because anybody who even touches this case gets destroyed. You look at what they did to Sean Hannity. I mean, they were out to crucify him in May of 2017, almost lost his job. The Murdoch wives literally told him, "Look, drop it or you're fired." I mean, it's a serious deal.
So I was told that you were absolutely financially wrecked by covering this.
I was. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was, they did everything they could. And that's what I always tell people. We get the term, you and I have made stands that you took a brave stand as well, pushing back. And people don't understand what you and I have done, and many others. We're not alone, obviously, but what so many of us have done to make the stands we've made for the truth in this country. Ivory, you and I can never go work in corporate America again. I was a national account exec for a Fortune 500 company. I can't. I mean, that's never coming back. I lost a 6-figure job in the middle of this investigation because I was doing the investigations on the side in 2017.
Wow.
I've lost a marriage because of the threats and the security protocols in 2019. There's real sacrifices here. And so I want to, if anybody's watching this on your channel, I want to support Ivory because, it's not easy to do this, folks. I mean, they come for you and they come hard. In the from whether it's Media Matters or who it is that's going to come after you, they're going to come, and they're going to bring everything.
All right. I guess we have free speech, but there can be vicious repercussions for you if you choose to fully use free speech. And speaking of support, I have the super chat from JJ Garrett. Thank you so much for the super chat. Quote, "Hi Ivory, all your shows are great." Really appreciate that. By the way, so for just zoning in on the importance of whether Seth Rich was tied to WikiLeaks. So he dies July 10th. He gets murdered, executed on the sidewalk in DC, 4:20 a.m. July 10th, 2016. 12 days later, July 22nd, 2016, WikiLeaks dumps thousands of DNC emails that indicate that Hillary Clinton colluded with the Democratic National Committee to basically kick out Bernie Sanders and make her the Democrat nominee.
Right.
So she rigged She rigged that one.
Oh,
It's a
yeah,
word
I
I'm
mean,
not supposed to say on YouTube.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. But it's not, Debbie, they allude to this, right? But they don't say it. Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned in shame. That's how Donna Brazile became the DNC chair. It was by default because, Debbie Wasserman Schultz was the one who was caught up in them rigging the primaries in Connecticut and Rhode Island in favor of Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. We believe Seth uncovered that information and a whole lot more information on what he got off of a zip drive. And we believe there was other things there, but there's so many intangibles in this. When you look at the case and you look at the fact that, nobody, think of the reward money at one point. It was up to like $600,000 or $700,000.
For answers in his case.
Right. No one's came forward. Not one person.
Yeah, I believe his family was offering $25,000 and Julian Assange was offering $20,000.
It got up there. The police department was offering a big chunk, like 25 or 50. I mean, it ended up, when you add it all together, it was like it got up to over $600,000 in reward money. No one's ever talked on this. I've spent weeks and weeks, investigating this in D.C. You look back at things and look at the general manager of of the place where he was at. One of the last places, Lewis City Bar, for example. When I talk about the anomalies in this case, this guy goes on Crime Watch TV with Chris Hansen or whatever, Chris Hansen's group. Goes on there, says that he was at the bar. He offered Seth a ride home. He offered to take him home directly. Jack Posobiec, who's a friend of mine, Jack goes in undercover. This is, I think, this is at some point in 2017. It's been so long this has been going on, Ivory. Jack goes in with it now. It was his fiance at the time, now his wife, Tanya, and they go in, Project Veritas style, and they literally record video and audio of this guy, the GM. And Jack asks him the questions. He's like, hey, the kid that got murdered, you were here. And the guy looks at him and he doesn't know he's being recorded. He goes, no, man, I was actually in Virginia on the beach with my family on vacation that night. I wasn't here. So he goes on Crime Watch TV and says that he was there. Then Posobiec has him on an undercover video saying he wasn't there at all that night. And if you're doing any kind of investigative work, these things should have stood out to police, DC Metro Police. They should have stood out to the FBI. They don't want this case solved. That's why it's still an open investigation, because when investigations are left open, they don't have to provide autopsy, toxicology, ballistics. They can say, oh, we can't give you any of that. It's an open investigation. Folks, it's over 6 years now. 6 years. He's the only unsolved Caucasian murder in the District of Columbia in the last 2 decades.
Wow. So it was Fox 5 who first broke this story. Fox 5 DC, Fox Corp owned. They dropped the bombshell in May 2017 that perhaps this Seth was tied to WikiLeaks, and because of that, the family went on to sue both Fox and you. Fox has stripped down all that coverage, except Fox forgot to take down this one report. They've gotten rid of all their reports because Fox 5 reported it and then Fox News picked it up. So there's this report they still have up, and this was supposedly, the narrative is it was a botched robbery, but his wallet was not taken. If they were robbing him, why didn't they take anything? Here's Fox's coverage.
Bombshell new evidence of a former DNC staffer you just showed there, Seth Rich, suggests he was in communications with WikiLeaks prior to his murder last summer. Let me take you back. Here in the nation's capital, it was last July. DNC staffer Seth Rich was shot and killed on the way home from a bar in a trendy Northwest neighborhood here. Police initially saying that they believed it was a botched robbery, but questions remain with the investigation still open. Now, a year later, according to a parallel investigation by former D.C. police homicide detective and Fox News contributor Rod Wheeler, there's evidence that Rich had contact with WikiLeaks. That evidence on a laptop belonging to Seth Rich, showing he was talking with WikiLeaks. Wheeler says this smells like a cover-up.
I want to find out who caused that man's death so we can put them behind bars. But if there's somebody in politics, if there's somebody in government, whether it's in the mayor's office or anywhere else in the city that's involved, you better believe they're going to be dragged in and questioned.
Wheeler sources inside the police department also saying that they were told to stand down on the case. Police not confirming any of this with us. I've been calling the PIO number here at the D.C. Police Department. That was at 6 a.m. and I have contacts from Private Crime Stories. Nobody telling me anything. We are going to keep hunting this. It's worth noting, guys, at the time of Rich's death, his wallet was not taken, and he actually went to the hospital. He was still alive at the hospital where he died. We know nothing about what may have transpired between police investigators and Rich, but
yeah. So Rod Wheeler, the private investigator, initially dropped that bombshell with Fox 5 Local, and then withdrew and said, no, I didn't mean any of that.
Yeah, I know Rod really well. Yeah, he flew into Northwest Arkansas where I live and met with my PIs and I for dinner one night back in 2019. To discuss the case in detail and things. And so, we've worked with him and sharing information, and he's no longer involved or anything in the case whatsoever. But a plethora of knowledge. Rod was trying to do the right thing, I believe, and was trying to find the truth. But it's the anomalies that he found even early on, Ivory, were stunning.
So why did he backtrack on everything? He denied Fox. Fox writes an online article with quotations from him, and he says, oh, I never said those things.
I can't really get into that to a degree. All I can say is I think he violated a contract, from what I understand, that he had signed with people. I can't say much more than that from what I know, just because of what I can and can't say anymore, if that makes sense. Wow.
Yeah, now you've been sued into oblivion, so you have to be careful about what you say too, I guess. And will I get sued for covering this? Who knows? Look, all I'm doing is citing the judge's order. Let me bring that up on the screen, you guys. So, I'm not making any of this up. So we have the judge's order in Eastern District of Texas. This document is linked down in my description for reference, but it's interesting here. If this is just a simple botched robbery, why has the FBI seemingly fought for 6 years to hide thousands of documents in regards to Seth Rich? That's my question. And I guess the judge wants to know too. It says, quote, this is the judge's words, quote, in particular, the standard searches failed to locate the 20,000 pages of potentially relevant material, including the 2-page email chain that states Seth Rich in both the subject line and the body of the email. However, as a general rule, an agency's failure to locate a few pages or a specific document is not alone sufficient to find the agency search was inadequate. But the FBI did not miss a few pages here. The FBI missed 20,000 pages. Such a high rate of error in populating responsive documents is alarming and brings into question whether the FBI's standard CRS index search is truly the most reasonable means to locate records potentially responsive to a FOIA request, as the FBI wants this court to believe. So pretty glaring statement from the judge about the FBI. And here it is. This is the case, guys, just so you all know I'm not making this up. Brian Huddleston versus FBI. The judge is Judge Mazant. Am I saying that right?
Mazant, yeah, I think you got it right. Mazant, that sounds right.
Okay.
A great judge so far. I don't want to butcher his name. I'm like, he's so far been a great judge.
Right. So this Freedom of Information Act request actually, it requests documentation of Seth Rich's brother as well. Now, and I guess you're, leery to talk about the family because they've sued you, but some are wondering whether Seth Rich's brother was involved in this leak. And actually, the family of Seth Rich was this year interviewed by NPR. Let me bring that article up. The parents just feel used and abused in this whole thing. The headline, Seth Rich's killing was exploited on Fox News and online. His parents are fed up. And they say in this article, why would our other son be involved? Why would either of them be involved? And first of all, our other son is in tech. He's not even in politics. And I mean, when we're talking about leaking online documents, it seems like a tech guy would be the one to do that. So it actually makes sense to me. But the parents said that doesn't make sense. Anyway, there's a lot to be uncovered in this. My heart does go out to the family. I know the last thing you want, you're grieving your son, and now you're embroiled in some political conspiracy theory, it largely involving the political party that you hate, because if Seth was working for the DNC, his parents were probably Democrats. So having a bunch of Republicans gossip about your family, I'm sure the family is very angry about that, which is probably why they sued. I know you can't talk about the family, but what can you talk about?
Yeah, I'm just letting you talk. I can't say. You're probably like, man, he's just got this goofy look on his face. But no, I was watching Joe Rogan's episode with Oliver Stone about JFK earlier today. I had it up on one of my screens here in the office while I was putting up some articles at the DC Patriot, and just kind of listening to it in the background, right? And I loved what Oliver Stone said about, because Joe Rogan brought up the conspiracy theorist terminology, right? And Oliver Stone goes, I hate that word. He's like, I consider it truth seekers, and I thought that was an interesting take, because you go back to the Project Mockingbird days of the 60s with JFK, and that's where that word really developed, when people started not believing that a guy in a sixth floor of an old library building was knocking off a president with a bolt-action rifle, and hundreds of witnesses said they saw shooters on the grassy knoll and other places, and they were all dubbed, conspiracy theorists by the government, the media, and that terminology has just continued to spiral in this, this republic. Anyone who doesn't go with the state-ran media narrative is chastised and destroyed in this country. What I can tell you is that I don't for one second believe it was a botched robbery. There's just too many anomalies. Nobody's talking. Nobody wants to talk about it. That to me is a big anomaly, that no one is talking about this. Not friends, not roommates, not colleagues. You look. We broke this story. I think it's, like I said, it's all a blur. I think this was in the summer of 2018 when we broke this story, late summer. But this is Rod Wheeler, who you mentioned. One of his several of his sources. He spoke to doctors and nurses at MedStar Hospital. They even lied about the hospital they took him to, Ivory. They tried to say that they took him to I think it was GW or whatever. MedStar is the trauma hospital in D.C. Anybody who's been in D.C. knows, snotty nose, flu, yeah, sure, go elsewhere. You're shot, that's where they took Congressman Steve Scalise when he was shot. The same surgeon that operated on Congressman Scalise and saved his life also is one of the surgeons who operated on Seth Rich. The night that he was pronounced, Christine Trankium, she's a trauma surgeon. I mean, we did our homework here. We dug deep into this. But we know that within 5 minutes of his arrival at MedStar Hospital, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, as well as Donna Brazile, the head of the DNC, were at the hospital. They arrived. But yet, everyone will tell you, if you look at any media piece from our friends over at BuzzFeed and Right Wing Watch, and I got to give a shout out to Will Sommer. He's wrote so many beautiful things about me over the years. But when you think about that, they'll tell you that this is all conspiracy. Why would the head of the DNC and the mayor of D.C. be at the hospital for a quote-unquote low-level staffer, as they like to always call him? He was just a low-level staffer. He was an entry-level guy. He was the data director of new voter registration. That's a pretty important role.
Really? That was Seth Rich's role?
That was his title. Yes, ma'am. That was his title. And so I just think it's alarming that people don't put all this stuff together. I mean, if you're an FBI agent, wouldn't you go, isn't it strange that the mayor and the head of the DNC were at the hospital when this kid got shot? Why would they be there? Things of that nature. There's just, and I can just go on and on about the anomalies in this case. It's just, nothing adds up. Multiple homicide detectives on my team, and they're all, one thing that I will tell the people watching right now: robbers rob and killers kill. So when you talk about a botched robbery and you investigate enough, right, you realize that it takes a special person to pull a trigger and kill someone. Normally, people that just rob you, Ivory, they don't kill you. it's a different breed. It takes a different breed. And then you had the MS-13 narrative. I can tell you, I spent enough time in LaDroit Park. I can assure you that it was not MS-13 that had anything to do with Seth Rich's murder, regardless of all the, nonsensical things that have been thrown out over the years. We had an insider with DC police. We had so many different avenues we were working this case. MS-13 uses machetes. They don't shoot you and leave you alive to go to the hospital. That's not an MS-13 MO. And I know you with your reporting, you probably know where I'm going with that. But I'll yield back. I can go all different angles with this as the murder goes.
Well, just to cover all the angles, we have Robert Mueller's angle. The Mueller report finds Seth Rich murder conspiracy theory was disinformation campaign by Julian Assange. So, Robert Mueller supposedly investigated this and discovered that it was Russians who leaked the DNC emails, and that Seth Rich was just propped up by Julian Assange as a distraction from the real source of the DNC emails, which was Russians. What's your reaction to that?
That makes so much sense because, the most famous journalist in the world really needed attention. So he thought he would mention Seth Rich to get attention. He was so, he had no attention on him. He couldn't get his message out. So he had to make up something about a kid who was 27 years old, murdered in the District of Columbia to get himself famous. That's what Julian Assange was up to, if you listen to Robert Mueller, right?
Yeah, who knows? But just the fact that the FBI is trying as hard as they can to violate FOIA, which is law. FBI is trying hard to violate the law.
They are, and you look at, I had the FBI in my living room 4 days after January 6th, which was an exciting time for me. I was, wasn't at the Capitol, but I was sitting third row in the VIP section at the Ellipse in front of President Trump. And, so, it's amazing. They can't investigate this, but yet they can be in my living room in 4 days to ask me why. You can see me on Fox News. You can see me on C-SPAN, whatever, standing there at the front of the stage at 1:32 o'clock in the afternoon. It was cold as hell that day, and so I had no intentions of, my security detail said, you're not going. We can't protect you. And we went back to the Sofitel Hotel. The whole point I'm trying to make with this is they have the capabilities. I don't believe that the FBI is inept by any means, Ivory. If they are a very, very good law enforcement agency, but for some reason they are not wanting to work on this case.
So if these, like I said, just bring this full circle. Okay, the judge has ordered, the FBI has until October 27th to release these documents to the plaintiff, who will then publish them on his blog, the contents of Seth Rich's laptop. If the contents of this laptop turn up a connection between him and WikiLeaks, what does this mean for in regards to Hillary Clinton, Democrat Party?
It means I'm going to sue a lot of people. That'll be the first thing.
You'll be proven right?
Yes. There's going to be a lot of media outlets and individuals who are going to get sued into the Stone Age by myself and a couple of other folks. I can tell you that much.
And if Seth Rich leaked these documents to WikiLeaks, and then he was shot down, that doesn't for sure mean that Hillary was a murderer.
Right. No, it doesn't mean that. Most people have seen enough movies. If you've seen enough, mobster movies, there's an old, I can't remember which, it might be Goodfellas. Don't hold me to this, but it's one of these. It might be the one with Johnny Depp. Is it Donnie Brasco? Am I saying that right?
I'm not familiar.
Movies. But basically, there's a rule: you don't hire in-town killers, right? You hire out-of-town killers because they kill and then they leave town, and then there's no trace of them. So, who knows what's going to be uncovered here with that? I don't think anyone thinks it, but I with the DNC and Hillary Clinton, I don't think there's going to be this paper trail,
right,
to those high-level folks. But I do think that there's the potential to prove what we all believe, and I believe know at this point. The way they're trying to cover this up, I don't think there's any doubt he was the leaker to WikiLeaks. I don't think there's any doubt that, he was in communications with Julian Assange, and I don't think there's any doubt that it would show that. If it does show that, it has. And here's the thing: if it shows that, and you're the FBI, how do you explain that? You've done nothing, right? You've had this information, or your local law enforcement, your Washington D.C. Metro Police, you're the FBI, whatever agency you want to go with. How do you explain yourselves that you've had this information and done nothing with it for years?
Absolutely. That's the big question. And this Freedom of Information Act request also requested that any evidence of any documentation related to Seth Rich that was deleted be shown too. So if you deleted something, show the evidence that you deleted it. So we shall see what happens come October 27th.
It's going to be dicey. I'm sure they'll come up with another excuse. Who knows? Maybe they were trying to mail the laptop and it fell down a flight of stairs into a swimming pool. It'll be interesting to see what happens here.
Let me check before we hang this up. Let's check some viewer comments. Do you think the documents the FBI has to release will be heavily redacted?
I think yes on the FBI documents, but I don't think they can redact like that. I'd have to talk with Ty or Eden, the attorneys on this with me. I'd have to talk to them, but I don't think they can redact what's on the laptop, as far as I know. They could only, because that is something that was FOIA'd, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there. That's a great question.
And this one, after this long, how would we know they released the actual laptop?
We have some folks with some very nifty skill sets on this team, as do the attorneys that have intelligence backgrounds. I mean, you got to look. We've got certain people like Bill Binney and Ray McGovern, who have been working with our team as expert witnesses. So, those are guys that pretty much founded the NSA. So I think that if it is the original laptop, we're going to know.
Gotcha. And another person asked about the private investigator Rod, if he was doing okay after all this trauma.
I don't know. I think Rod's a great guy.
Here it is.
Oh, there it is. As far as I know, he's fine. He works in like the food industry as a counterterrorism expert. The last I talked to him, so,
he was a Fox News contributor. Now, Fox
yes.
News got rid of so many people related to this Seth Rich case.
Yeah, Malia Zimmerman's another one, right? So yeah, there's so
she
many.
She was the original journalist who wrote the article about Seth Rich, right?
Right.
So she was axed. The editor who approved her article was axed. 2 Fox News contributors out of there. So Fox News hates lawsuits, and they will muzzle right up to avoid lawsuits. And that's why they attempted to muzzle me in my unrelated story. Anything to avoid a lawsuit.
Yeah, I think that's the MO at this point for these groups. And that's like I said early on, folks, make sure you're supporting Ivory, support what she's doing, because it takes courage to do this. Because and I know you probably know where I'm going with this. When you do what you did or what I did, 6 years, I guess it's been 5.5 years ago, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how you're going to keep the lights on. You're just on a, what I mean? You're on a whim going, you know what? I don't know how this is going to turn out. I'm putting it in God's hands, and let's see what happens. It's kind of a Jesus take the wheel moment, I guess, Ivory. But, you're a fighter and a warrior in this movement too, because, you could have just towed the line, kept the great job, and, done the thing, right?
Exactly. And had a horrible feeling in my heart for the rest of my life. And I didn't want that. So you have been through so much from covering this, financially ripped apart, due to the lawsuit for covering Seth Rich. Now, you've also been deplatformed. How can people find you on platforms where you haven't been deleted and then support you?
Absolutely. My biggest platform now is Gitter. I'm blessed to be good friends with Jason Miller and Kaylin Dorr, Sonny Joy Nelson, Kingsley Cortez, great crew over there. So I'm at Real Matt Couch on everything. It's just at Real Matt Couch. And I'm on Truth Social. I am on Truth Social. Although, no offense to the Truth Social folks, I don't like it like I do Gitter, but it's growing. But Gitter has a live platform where I can go live. Gitter has Gitter Pay coming for influencers like Ivory and I, where we can bypass PayPal or whoever and actually, get funding. And there's a lot of great things. They have Getter Vision, which is like their version of TikTok and Instagram rolled into one. I sound like a Getter spokesperson. I guess just put a PSA out. I'm not on salary with Getter. I just really like the platform, and the people that run it are really good people. But I'm on Gab. I'm on Truth Social. I'm on Facebook. Believe it or not, I'm banned on Twitter, but yet verified on Facebook. It's the strangest thing. It's so weird. When I'm on my 5th 30-day suspension on Facebook right now this year.
Wow.
They went back and found a Hunter Biden meme from July of last year that gave me another 30-day suspension. It's just one thing after the other. But yeah, I'm at Real Matt Couch. If you want to follow the news of my team, I've got a team of reporters. Oh, she's pointing to at Real Matt Couch.
There's his handle, guys.
That's on every platform on about 20 socials. And then the DCPatriot.com is our news site. We put up about 15 to 20 articles a day that I own with my team. And then faithandfreedoms.com if you want to support us. Faith, the letter N, freedoms.com. It's my apparel line. I got tired of being called a grifter, for putting up a donation link. So I just created a brand, and we have everything from, shirts, hoodies, tumblers, hats, and I design them and my team, and we put them up, and so you can buy some gear. So now you get something for your money, and I can't be called a grifter because it's an American-owned company. So that was one of those. I just got so tired of it. That's all
a good
I
idea.
hear. Yeah, from the liberals, I would just hear, "Oh, you're such a grifter." I'm like, "Yeah, how dare me work 18 hours a day reporting the truth? What was I thinking?"
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I hate asking for donations. I never really do. So I need to launch some merch too.
Absolutely. We need the Ivory Hecker collection. If Tommy Lauren can do it, you can do it. You got this.
Yeah, they keep listing Ivory Mectin as one of it. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but
I think the Y helps.
Maybe that'll be the name of my merch
shirt. Like the Ivory with a hyphen mech. I mean, that would be a great merchandise line for you. Hoodies and T-shirts. I'd buy one. I'm in.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Matt, and thanks for what you do. And keep us posted on any other developments in this case. And best of luck to you.
Thank you, Ivory. Thanks for what you do, and thanks for bringing light to this. Really appreciate you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.